want to bring in now Boris Epshteyn. Boris, there's been a big change in the last 24 hours since the Pennsylvania hearing. Now the president's going to Georgia tomorrow. It looks like a rally. Are you going to try also have a hearing? Walk us through the latest from the campaign.
Steve, how are you? Good to be with you as always, and with all the warriors on War Room, all your listeners and viewers. So here's the latest. The latest is that the president, as he said, is going to Georgia. Georgia is a vital state, obviously, for this election. It is where they found thousands and thousands of ballots under every rock, it seems like, and that's only in 3 relatively small counties. Also, obviously, the vital Senate races going on in Georgia, which are extremely, extremely important. But in terms of the presidential election, Georgia has conducted a recount, and now we petitioned for another recount and are doing everything possible to ensure that recount includes signature matching, which is absolutely vital and extremely important. So that's Georgia. And then from there, we have to look at Pennsylvania. That the Pennsylvania hearing on Tuesday was absolutely vital to these efforts in terms of uncovering and exposing the widespread voter fraud, election fraud perpetrated on the American people by the left, by the Democrats, and you're going to see more come out. Wisconsin, the recount, from what I understand, the recount is wrapping up in Milwaukee and Dane County, which is where Madison, Wisconsin is. And what we expected, which is over 100, maybe 2, maybe more, 100,000 votes were cast illegally in the state of Wisconsin, where voting by mail, absentee voting, are not a right, they are a privilege. And so from what I understand, from what I'm hearing, we will see the results that were expected, that the voter rolls are not going to match up with the granted applications to vote. In Michigan,
okay,
we continue to...
Yeah, hang on. Before we get to... let's go back to Wisconsin, because if you one falls, they all fall. You give Trump a state that shows that this was illegal, and to the scale of 100,000 to 200,000, we had Brainerd on here showing him how they did the finesse. He will bludgeon Joe Biden and the Democrats. He will bludgeon that. That's why one falls, they all fall. I want to go to Wisconsin. What's the timing of when that's going to be announced? Because right now, you guys could fully dominate the Sunday shows. You could dominate the weekend. Remember, every time, a couple of weeks ago, you were in Arizona. When the thing started to shift, that's what that's why CNN called the election for Biden out of thin air. That's Saturday 2 weeks ago, because they understood with the Alito decision, with Boris, what you had to say about the 9,000 votes cutting the lead by a third in Arizona, other activity that was coming up. They knew that you were going to dominate that weekend and Trump was going to get momentum. So they had to come out, and Fox wouldn't call it, so they called it. They're going to be they're going to be jammed up this afternoon. They're going to get jammed up. And here's why they're getting jammed up. There's no more good news. There's no more lies that they can spin. And they're so now on the hook for this baseless charge. We're going to force feed it to them. Okay, we're going to force feed their lies. And this is what Twitter and Jack Dorsey, I want all the guys that have been taken down that did nothing but lie consistently to the American people. Lie to them about the baseless charges. These charges are going to show massive criminal activity in Wisconsin and in Georgia. What do you think? What's the timing of this Wisconsin announcement? Boris, you have any idea?
From what I understand, the recount in Milwaukee is going to be wrapping up as soon as today, and then the recount in Dane County, which is Madison, is going to be wrapping up as soon as on Sunday. So as soon as that's over, that's when we make our next move. That's when the information comes out again. From what I understand, over 100,000 people who were not given the correct right to vote by mail or absentee doing so. And that may be because they actually never got approval, or they lied that they were indefinitely confined, or there was another one of the myriad of irregularities we've seen across the country. So that's Wisconsin. Wisconsin is a state that is absolutely full of opportunity because it has been so full of fraud perpetrated by the Democrats. And everybody's seen the numbers, everybody's seen the spikes. Again, the question is, if a court sees the list of applications that are approved to vote by mail or absentee, and then sees that people voted who are not on the list, how can they not act? that is an absolute incontrovertible evidence of election fraud, election irregularities. That is Wisconsin.
Okay, but hang on, hang on for a second. But that's my question: is it going to go back to the state legislature, or are you just going to go to the executives at the Secretary of State and say, "Hey, you can't approve this," or are you going to get the prosecutors involved, or are you going to go back to the courts? What venue now do you see you guys taking to basically get the righteous and the correct certification?
Right. It's all about making sure the legal votes count. Here's what's likely going to happen. At the end of the recount, that recount is going to be quote unquote certified. That is legally when it is our time to then file the contest. So that is, and I don't want to get ahead of anything here, but as we look forward, what there is to plan for is the recount's done. The recount then likely gets quote unquote certified, and that is at that point when we take the next step. And then we do it through the courts, and also we continue to do it through the elected officials, as we've done in Pennsylvania and Arizona. We're working on doing it in Michigan and all across the country.
Okay, I just want people in the audience to understand. So these certifications are a technical issue.
Correct.
Do not lose
Very
faith
important.
when you hear that Wisconsin is going to be certified, because they have to count the illegal. And let's say right now, the ones that we are claiming are illegal, right, and can't be counted, the 100,000 to 200,000 votes, right, because we're more honest in the mainstream media. We're claiming that they're illegal, and we're prepared in the campaign. I take it as prepared to show all the details of that in a court of law. Boris?
Absolutely. The campaign is here and prepared to exhaust every possible channel, every possible remedy, and we are not going to let illegal votes stand. This is all about making sure that this election was done with integrity, was done fair and square, and that it is the legal votes of the American people which decide who our president will be for the next 4 years. And if you look at the evidence all across the country, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Arizona, Nevada, it sure looks like if you count the legal votes and you don't count the illegal votes, President Trump will be back for 4 more years.
Look, the deplorables online, and our audience is blown up today, just massive, and they're very engaged. Although it's Black Friday, they said, "Hey, that's fine. I'll deal with my Christmas shopping later. This is about my country." Georgia, look, they're really excited the president's going down there, and obviously they're very excited and want to get focused on these January runoffs and know that Stacey Abrams and the Democrats are going back and doing what they did for this first thing of getting all these people that can vote by mail and all this kind of potential fraud out there. However, they want the biggest emphasis in Georgia to be on the matter that's at hand right now, and that is closing on the president's victory in the state of Georgia. Is that going to be an emphasis on the rally tomorrow? And are you trying to have some hearings, because the president clearly added such a powerful element on Wednesday when he wasn't in the room? What's your idea? What's going to happen in Georgia?
Well, take a look at the president's Twitter account. I think it's pretty clear what he's going to be talking about tomorrow. And specifically in the state of Georgia could not allow to send electors based on illegal votes counting. It's incumbent upon the state legislature of Georgia to determine who between President Trump and Vice President Joe Biden got the most legal votes in that state. And the way you have to do that is by doing a real honest recount, which has to include that signature matching and other verifications that we've been talking about nonstop. And that is what our focus on, and we continue to drive to that. And I'm confident that the president will be focusing on that tomorrow in the beautiful state of Georgia.
Okay, I want to go, before you got pulled back to kind of headquarters to be one of the top guys working with Rudy on everything, you were sent out to look into Arizona and make sure only legal votes counted. What is going on in Arizona? Because I'm hearing reports of people I know out there saying, hey, this stinks to high heaven. He's down by 10,000. If you got Pima County problems, you got Maricopa problems, you got the tribal nations of potential problems. What is going on in Arizona right now?
Well, a lawsuit was filed, an action was filed on Tuesday in Arizona. Kelly Ward, who's the chairman of the GOP and also a Trump elector, was the plaintiff, and that is seeking for verification of votes in Arizona. Let's make sure that these are real votes. Let's make sure that the irregularities that have been alleged Did not happen if they didn't. But if they did, we have to get to the bottom of it. So that's been filed, and it was filed actually ahead of time under what's called Rule 27 in Arizona, because really you're not supposed to be allowed to file an action until Arizona certifies the election, which is supposed to be on November 30th. But there's a rule that allows you to get discovery ahead of time, allows you to get information in layman's terms ahead of time. So that's what's been done. And that legal action is going to show us, as long as the courts allow it, which they should, the legal action is going to show us the amount of irregularity in Arizona. And from what I understand from being out there were, again, observers not allowed to observe counting and processing of mail ballots. There were duplicate, which means fixed ballots that may have been damaged but were fixed and were pro-President Trump ballots, in large numbers, which were not counted. And a huge array of other voter irregularities and election fraud that occurred in Maricopa County specifically, and we're also looking at Pima County, but this lawsuit specifically to Maricopa. So we are going to determine, hopefully through that lawsuit, and also through working with the Arizona legislature, who truly won Arizona. As you mentioned, when Arizona was called on election night wrongfully by Fox News, we were down 200,000. When I got there 2 days after Election Day, we were down about 78,000. When the counting stopped, President Trump was only down 10,300 to Vice President Joe Biden. So if anybody believes that Vice President Biden, with his message of America last and his message of sadness and feebleness, beat Donald Trump in Arizona or anywhere across the country in the battlegrounds, well, I've got some bridges in Brooklyn, Manhattan, and Queens to sell you.
Boris, you got about 30 seconds. What can this audience do to support? President Trump said, hey, I need the apparatus stood up, and we're burning daylight. We got basically to the 14th. What can this audience do to support Rudy Giuliani, Jenna, and Boris? What can they do?
Express your support for counting all the legal votes on Twitter, on Parler, or Instagram. Get loud. Write your elected officials. Make sure they call their offices. Make sure they know that it is incumbent upon Republican and Democrat elected officials in your states to only count the legal votes when deciding which electors to send over to the Congress when the election is decided. Because remember, that's what it's all about. On midnight December 13th,
Boris,
electors will send. They'll be counted on January 6th.
Boris, what's your Twitter handle on Parler?
Boris EP on Twitter, at Boris on Parler, Boris_Epshteyn on the gram, the hot Instagram. I'm on there. I'm posting some good stuff.
Okay, Boris, thank you very much. Let you go back to work. He's been working 24/7. These folks did not take off. Besides thanking God for the country they have, they went back to work to make sure it's a country we're going to have.